Hello, geometry. Miss Butler again. We are going to continue on with more factoring review. If you haven't already, please pause your video and try these warm-up problems. Okay, so once you've tried them, let's just go through again the main details here. You want a -6 on the end. You have a 3, so this is going to have to be a -2. Okay, and then going through the FOIL, and then combine like terms. You have -2 plus a 3 is 1x. That matches, that checks, so this would be the correct fill in the blank. Next one, you want a -8. You have a +2 here, so to multiply, you need a -4. And once again, we are foiling to check. So combine like terms, -4 plus a 2 is a -2 minus the 8, so those match. And -4 would be the correct fill in the blank. Next, so this one's a little weird. You got to think a little bit here. So you have a +5. We want to multiply to a -25. So that's going to have to be a -5. Now something weird happens here with the combined like terms. So when you FOIL, you get a -5x plus a 5x. Those will actually cancel out. So that's why there's no middle term for this quadratic. So that checks out, and so the -5 was correct. Over here, so x plus 5, it has to be a +25. Now here you do have to be careful because this could be positive times a positive or a negative times a negative. Obviously it's a positive, so this is going to be +5. And then when you FOIL that, you get two 5x's and then the +25. So combine like terms, so you get 10x plus 25, which matches the original, so this +5 here is correct. Okay, good job. Next, so here are some special cases. Now, the thing you have to remember about these special cases is that there's a little bit of a shortcut to think about, but the standard way of doing factoring will work for these as well. So it's not a big deal, but a couple things to remember. A plus b squared actually means a plus b times a plus b. So you actually do have to FOIL in order to multiply this out. So we're just going to look at how that works out. So a times a is a squared. A times b is a times b. B times a, I'm just going to write that the same as a times b, and then b squared. Okay, these are like terms. They have the exact same variables to the same power. So I can add those together, combine like terms. So I have AB plus another AB, which means there are a total of 2 ABs plus B squared. Okay, so just remember when you have the factored form with the squared like that, you do have to set up the 2 sets of parentheses. So same here, you have 2 sets of parentheses, and then when you FOIL, you have A squared. This time it's going to be minus AB, and then another minus BA, but I'm going to write it as AB, and then plus, because B times negative B times a negative B is a positive B squared. So again, these are like terms. So I have a total of -2 ABs and then B squared. Okay, so what you were looking for these special cases is stuff that looks like these last guys and that will factor into this form. Okay, but what I don't want you to do is freaking out that there's a whole other thing to learn, because you don't really have to learn anything new here. So you have a quadratic with the trinomial. You're still going to find factors of 16. Okay, again, notice this is a +16, but the combined like terms is negative. So I can't have two positives here. I'm going to have two negatives. So -1 times a -16, or -2 times a -8, or -4 times a -4. There is no -3 because that does not divide into 16. Okay, so what you want to look at here is the only reason that we went over these up top is that if you have a perfect square, is what they're called, so a number where you can just multiply the same number together to get that 16, 4 times 4, which is 16, that could possibly be this special case. So what I'm going to do here is to show you that you can still do it the same old way. So I know I'm going to have W and W. I know I'm going to have a minus and a minus. I just have to figure out which numbers are going to work. Okay, so over here, I'm just going to try one off to the side. Okay, so W squared minus 16W minus 1W plus 16. So that's a total of negative 17W plus 16. Okay, that does not match what we have here, so that one did not work. So the only thing you have to remember, really, is if like a 4 times a 4, or a 3 times a 3, or a 2 times a 2 is a choice, I would just try that one first. Okay, because it may work, but it's likely that if it's that special case, you're going to just need to use the 4 and the 4. So I would just try that one first. It actually does work in this case. So -4, minus inside, and then 16. -4 and -4 total is a -8 plus 16. So that matches our original here. So this is the correct factorization. Now, the only thing you can do at that point is you can combine them into this type of statement. So you could actually combine these, and then your final answer would be W minus 4 squared. But either one of these is correct. It doesn't matter which way you say it. Okay, next. So difference of squares is another special case. Again, it's a special case, but your old way of factoring will still always work. So if you FOIL this, you have a squared minus a times b plus, so that's this one, plus b times a, but I'm going to write it as a times b. And then here it's positive b times a negative b, which is going to be a negative b squared. Okay, again, these are like terms, but like the warm-up problem, they are going to cancel out. So I end up with a squared minus b squared. Okay, so we get down here, and you're just going to start out the same way that we've been doing it this whole time. So -25, we're going to find factors of -25. So -1 times 25, 1 times a -25, 2 doesn't go, 3 doesn't go, 4 doesn't go, 5 does. So -5 times a +5. You could say 5 times a -5, but that's the same option. So all I am telling you is if you notice that this is an option, like a 5 times 5 or 4 times 4, 3 times 3, I would just try that one first. That's all I'm saying. It'll just cut down on some time. Now, it's not going to work every time, but I would just try it first. So I'm going to try it. I'm going to FOIL it out though. So d squared plus 5d minus 5d, and then minus 25. Okay, these are like terms. They are going to cancel out, and I end up with d squared minus 25. That matches my original, so therefore I know this is the correct factorization. Okay, so with these types of problems, to save yourself some time, It is helpful to know what your perfect squares are. So let's just write those down really quickly. Okay, so perfect squares are really easy to figure out. 1 squared is 1, that's a perfect square. 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16. Okay, these are your perfect squares, these numbers right here. And you can keep going, obviously, and so on. Okay, but these are your perfect squares. And these. So it is helpful as you get into harder and harder math to know what your perfect squares are. Okay, well, that's it for this lesson. We'll see you later. Bye.